almost a month after the first passenger died of the hantavirus on board the MV Hondius cruise ship, it is finally approaching Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Intensive preparations have been underway to receive the ship in the port of Granadilla and help more than 100 people onto shore to be repatriated.
And it's an age-old question, are you a cat person or a dog person? In East Asia, it seems more and more people these days are team cat. And India's internet users already rely heavily on voice notes, voice search and multilingual messaging. Turning those habits into a scalable AI business, however, remains difficult because of the country's linguistic complexity and mixed language usage and uneven monetization patterns. Whisperflow is betting the opportunity is worth the challenge. The Bay Area headquartered startup, which builds AI-powered voice input software, and says India is now its fastest growing market, even though voice-based AI products remain early and fragmented in the South Asian nation. That growth has pushed Whisperflow to expand more aggressively for Indian users and, beginning with Hinglish, a hybrid mix of Hindi and English commonly spoken by locals. The startup is also planning broader multilingual voice support, a local hiring push, and eventually lower pricing as it looks to expand beyond white-collar users and into Indian households.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he thinks Russia's conflict with Ukraine is coming to an end, addressing reporters after a scaled-back military parade in Moscow, marking the Soviet victory in World War II. I think that the matter is coming to an end, he said, referring to the special military operation in Ukraine, while condemning Western support for the Kyiv government.
A Palestinian man has been killed and several others injured after an Israeli drone strike targeted a motorcycle west of the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza, amid Israel's continued violations of a ceasefire agreed to in October. A medical source confirmed the death on Saturday of Ayad al-Motawak to the Anadolu news agency, as well as the injuries of an unspecified number of people. Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandra de Moraes has barred the implementation of a law that could dramatically reduce the prison sentence of former President Jair Bolsonaro for involvement in a coup plot after his loss in the 2022 election. De Moraes ordered the law's suspension on Saturday until the Supreme Court can convene a full hearing to consider appeals challenging its constitutionality. Artificial intelligence is changing the world and simultaneously inventing a whole new language to describe how it's doing it. Spend 5 minutes reading about AI and you'll run into LLMs, RAG, RLHF, and a dozen other terms that can make even very smart people in the tech world feel insecure. This glossary is our attempt to fix that. We update it regularly as the field evolves, so consider it a living document. Much like the AI systems it describes, artificial general intelligence, or AGI, is a nebulous term, but it generally refers to AI that's more capable than the average human at many, if not most, tasks. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman once described AGI as the equivalent of a median human that you could hire as a co-worker. Meanwhile, OpenAI's charter defines AGI as highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work. Google DeepMind's understanding differs slightly from these two definitions. The lab views AGI as AI that's at least as capable as humans at most cognitive tasks. Confused? Not to worry, so are experts at the forefront of AI research.
The World Health Organization says the hantavirus poses a low risk to public health. Arrangements are underway to repatriate passengers from a cruise ship after 3 people on board died.
And a car bombing at a police post, followed by an intense firefight, has killed at least 3 officers in northwestern Pakistan, according to police and security sources. The attack took place in Bannu, a district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province bordering Afghanistan, late on Saturday.
Palestinian family in Jenin says Israeli settlers forced them to exhume and rebury their father hours after his funeral. The settlers claimed the cemetery land belonged to the nearby Sarnur settlement. The UN Rights Office condemned the incident as part of a wider pattern of dehumanization of Palestinians.
And Parker, a well-funded startup offering corporate credit cards and banking services for e-commerce businesses, has filed for bankruptcy and is widely reported to have shut down. The startup was part of Y Combinator's Winter 2019 cohort, and its Series A was led by Valar Ventures.
Australia's One Nation Party has won its first ever lower house seat in what is being seen as an important test for the right-wing populist party. With most ballots counted, One Nation candidate David Farley has won an unassailable 60% of the primary vote in Farrer, a vast regional constituency in New South Wales. Independent candidate Michelle Milthorpe is far behind.
39 people have been killed in another day of intense Israeli strikes in Lebanon. The country's health ministry said one Israeli strike on the southern town of Saksakieh killed at least 7 people, including a child, the ministry said.
Palestinian family in the occupied West Bank has been forced by Israeli settlers, reportedly under military protection, to dig up their father's grave and rebury him, which the United Nations is condemning as appalling and dehumanizing. 80-year-old Hussein Assassa died of natural causes on Friday and was buried shortly after in a cemetery in Assassa village near Jenin. Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez is heading to The Hague for a land dispute case with Guyana at the International Court of Justice, ICJ. The trip to the Netherlands, announced on Saturday, will be the first time she's left home since the abduction of President Nicolas Maduro by US forces in January.
Iran has indicated it will take part in this summer's Football World Cup, but has demanded a series of guarantees from FIFA and the tournament's hosts amid growing tensions surrounding the team's participation. The Iranian Football Federation, FIRI, said Iran would compete at the tournament without any retreat from our beliefs, culture and convictions, while insisting the hosts must take our concerns into account.
Manchester City kept their slender Premier League title hopes alive as Jeremy Doku inspired a 3-0 win against Brentford. Pep Guardiola's side struggled to prize open Brentford for almost an hour at the Etihad Stadium on Saturday.
General Motors has reached a privacy-related settlement with a group of law enforcement agencies led by California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Back in 2024, the New York Times reported that automakers, including GM, were sharing information about their customers' driving behavior with insurance companies, and that some customers were concerned that their insurance rates had gone up as a result.
And Washington, with repeated chants of Pakistan Zindabad echoing through the hall for nearly 3 hours, the Pakistani embassy here on Friday evening turned into a charged expression of national solidarity and, as members of the diaspora pledged unity, resilience and renewed commitment to the homeland in the aftermath of last year's India-Pakistan military confrontation. The gathering marked the first anniversary of Mark-i-Haq and, described by the embassy as a testament of historical significance to Pakistan's unity, resilience and unwavering national resolve, and unfolded in an atmosphere that blended formal diplomacy with sustained emotional intensity.
Washington. Pakistan has significantly expanded its lobbying and strategic communications footprint in the United States, signing a new $1 2 million contract with a Washington-based advisory firm as it seeks deeper engagement on defense cooperation, critical minerals and broader economic diplomacy in an increasingly competitive policy environment. According to filings submitted under the U.S. Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA Irvin Graves Strategy Group LLC registered on May 1 as an official foreign agent of Pakistan's embassy in Washington under a 2-year contract valued at $12, requiring payments of $50,000 per month for its services.
Minister for Finance and Revenue Senator Muhammad Aurangzeb on Saturday said Pakistan's economy continued to show signs of recovery despite ongoing regional tensions, citing strong growth in large-scale manufacturing, exports, remittances and foreign investment inflows. Airing a news conference alongside Minister for Petroleum Ali Pervez Malik, the finance minister said the country's large-scale manufacturing LSM sector recorded 11% year-on-year growth in April, while cumulative growth during the first 9 months of the current fiscal year stood at 6.5%.
Greek authorities have rendered safe a naval drone carrying explosives after it was discovered in the Ionian Sea by fishermen. The unmanned vessel, suspected to be of Ukrainian origin, was found in a cave near Lefkada on Greece's western coast on Thursday, with its engines still running. Greek bomb disposal experts removed its detonators and battery. Israeli attacks across Lebanon have killed at least 19 people despite a United States-brokered ceasefire, now in its 3rd week. In a statement on Saturday, the Lebanese Ministry of Public Health said an Israeli attack on the town of Al-Saksakiyeh in the southern Sidon district killed at least 7 people, including a child, and wounded 15, including 3 children. Al Jazeera's Tarek Abazuaz reports from Al-Shati refugee camp, where families search through the rubble after overnight Israeli airstrikes despite a ceasefire. Residents described the attacks as a breach of the truce, saying they lost shelter, belongings, and the only places they had left to stay. The parent company of Donald Trump's social media platform, Truth Social, has reported a loss of more than $400 meters in the first quarter of 2026, driven largely by the slumping value of cryptocurrency assets. A March 31 company filing shows that Trump Media and Technology Group, TMTG, reported revenue of about $870,000 for the first 3 months of the year, with a 6% rise in net sales.
The leaders of Lebanon and Syria have concluded talks in Damascus focused on joint interests, as both countries pursue a rapprochement following the overthrow of longtime Syrian President Bashar al-Assad almost 18 months ago. On Saturday, Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam said significant progress had been made in the discussions with Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa, which covered security, transport, infrastructure and economic matters. Marka Ihak is a defining landmark in the nation's journey, the military said on Saturday as Pakistan marked the first anniversary of the brief war with India. In a statement released by the Inter-Services Public Relations ISPA, the military said that the brief conflict demonstrated Pakistan's measured and resolute response and exposed adversarial conspiracies, false flag narratives and disinformation campaigns, diminishing their credibility internationally. The moment after a Frontier Airlines plane killed a person who was on a runway after jumping a perimeter fence at Denver International Airport on Friday night is captured in air traffic control audio. "We just hit somebody," the pilot tells the control tower after halting Flight 4345's takeoff. "We have an engine fire."
And the Royal Navy is sending a warship to the Middle East, where it could join an international mission to safeguard shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. HMS Dragon, a Type 45 destroyer, will pre-position in the region ahead of its potential role in what the Ministry of Defence, MOD, described as a strictly defensive and independent mission.
Tehran, Iran. As the United States awaits Tehran's latest response to texts for an agreement being exchanged through intermediaries, Iranian authorities and state-linked media are emphasizing that they consider control over the Strait of Hormuz more important than ever. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei told reporters on Saturday that Iran was still reviewing Washington's proposal.